Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. Here's your host, Brien Hanley.
Hey, everybody, what's going on? This is your man, Big B, Brien Hanley. Welcome back to the Big 12 Insiders. Good weekend for the Big 12 as far as the Big 12 tournament. Another successful weekend in Kansas City. If you weren't there, you missed out. It was great basketball. Kansas City does a great job of putting on that tournament, man. It's outstanding. I know some people are a little pessimistic about it. I get it. But if you haven't been, just give yourself an opportunity to go before you bash it. They really do put on a great tournament. In my eyes, one of the best in the country. But we're going to talk about that as far as Houston, their dominance. And then also we have to talk about the disrespect that the Big 12 got shown in the NCAA tournament. I mean, it's starting to get ridiculous how the Big 12 is constantly being disrespected. First, it started with the college football playoff. Now it's seeped in to college basketball where you thought, well, there's no way they're going to disrespect the Big 12. Well, they did. They absolutely did. It's starting to get pretty obvious, too. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's disgusting. And it pisses me off, to be quite honest with you. We'll cover all that and more. Again, I appreciate you guys. Before we get started, remember to like, follow, subscribe, continue to get in the comments section. And as always, remember to hit that notification bell so you know exactly when Big 12 Insiders content is coming out. Just as a news flash, I will be out of town on Thursday and Friday. Me and some people, my friends, we are headed to Vegas this weekend for the first weekend of the tournament. So I will be doing updates after Big 12 games. You'll see me live in the sports book. I'll be doing it. I did one on Friday. We were out, me and the wife and a couple of friends. We were out. So I'll still be around. Don't get me wrong. I'll still be available. I'll still be watching, giving you live updates and all that stuff. But I just want to let you guys know that I will not be doing the show on Thursday and Friday. It will be Fitz. So make sure you guys still tune in to what Fitz has to say and what he has to talk about. So it'll be good stuff. But let's get started look, Houston was the dominant team in the Big 12, and they just flat out proved it. They go out, they win the Big 12 regular season at 19-1. They win it by 4 games. Now, if you told me at the beginning of the year that Houston was going to win the Big 12, I would say, okay, that's fine. But if you were going to tell me that they were going to then win it by 4 games and go 19-1 in the conference, I'd have said you're absolutely out of your mind. I mean, I didn't think anybody would win this thing by 4 games and much less go 19-1. I mean, Houston winning it, maybe they lose 3, maybe 4 games. Okay, I get it. They win it by a game or 2. Okay, but that's not what they did. Went out and just dominated the conference. They did that. They dominated the conference. And whether they won a game by 30 or whether they won a game by a last-second shot, whatever was required, that's what they did. To me, that's the sign of an outstanding basketball team. And that's what Houston is. That's what they are. They're tough-minded. They take their P's and Q's from their coach, who's tough-minded. He grinds on them. They allow him to do that. They have room and they give grace to be coached and coached difficult. That you can't always say that in this day and age with people being ultra sensitive. And don't get me wrong, I can be ultra sensitive too. But sometimes you have to allow grace. You have to allow yourself to be coached. You went to Houston knowing the type of coach that he was. So you can't go to Houston and say, hey, man, I'm not used to this type of coaching. I'm not used to this. You knew that. And that's why they go there, because they understand it. They want that type of discipline, that type of coaching, and it works. It absolutely works, and personally, I love it. I love seeing it, but Houston is the class of this conference. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They are truly the class of this conference. They go out, they win the Big 12, a conference tournament title, I should say, and they look really good. They do it without Juwan Roberts, which kind of goes without saying. It's just is a master class on how good this basketball team is. Still, I don't think they're getting enough due around the country. I don't think enough people are talking about how good Houston is, and they probably like it that way. They're probably like, you know what? You don't need to talk about us. You don't need to say a whole lot about us. We'll just show up and we'll just win. As long as we show up and we just win, you don't have to say anything about us. Okay, fine. That's not good for me. I don't like that. I would love for people to talk more about Houston and talk more about the Big 12 conference. But Houston, they got a different mindset. They're just going to show up. They're going to grind on you. They're going to beat you, and they're going to go on to the next round. I can't be more proud of that basketball team and how they're going to represent this conference. Moving on, Iowa State got horrible news. Keyshawn Gilbert is not going to play in the NCAA tournament. Look, I think it affected – I don't think it affected their seeding, but it could have. But I definitely think it's affecting how Iowa State's going to do in this tournament, man. I couldn't feel worse for him, for the team, for Iowa State fans. It's just an unfortunate situation. Just an unfortunate situation. Injuries suck. They are part of sports, but doesn't mean they don't suck. But that's going to compromise what Iowa State can do in this tournament. I mean, you look at it, I believe they can still get to the Sweet 16, but it'll be tough. It'll be tough. That round of 32 game, I mean, I expect them to beat Lipscomb, but that round of 32 game is going to be murder. Doesn't mean they can't win it. Don't get me wrong, but they're compromised. They're compromised. Taman Lipsey, he is not 100% either. So it's just, man, I hate this for them, because I really thought that they had a good chance to make a good run. If everybody's healthy, I liked their draw without Keyshawn Gilbert. Getting to the second weekend is going to be difficult. Not impossible, but it's going to be difficult for Iowa State. Arizona, I think, got a bad draw. I don't think they got a bad seeding. I think seeding fourth is right, but I think they got a bad draw. Akron is going to be better than what a lot of people believe that they are. I like Arizona winning the game, but that's going to be a hell of a lot closer than what maybe people think. Maybe Arizona shoots the lights out and blows them out. I don't know. But I just believe that game, a lot of people are picking that one to be an upset, the 4-13. I don't believe that's going to be an upset this year. Arizona's going to win that game. But I think Akron will be better. I do. I think it'll be closer than what people want it to be. But we'll see. But then or possibly Oregon in the next round, I just don't like it. I don't like that matchup. Don't like it at all. I know Arizona fans are going to say, hey, we're not scared of Oregon. And I don't think you should be scared of Oregon. But this Oregon team this year, I don't like that matchup with Arizona. I just don't like it. Say whatever you want. I don't like it. Hopefully Arizona can pull through and win, because I want to see Arizona do well in this tournament. I want to see them go a long way in this tournament. I think they need that. Their fans need that. Of these upsets that have happened to them over the last few years, enough is enough. It's time to start winning. Time to start winning in the tournament, Arizona. BYU, I think, got robbed. 6 seed is a miscarriage of justice. Absolute miscarriage of justice. The way that they played down the stretch, the teams that they beat, a 6 seed seems like highway robbery. And there was highway robbery with some of these seeds all throughout this damn thing. But how you come to that, I just don't know. I thought it was easily a 5. I don't think they should have got a 4, but a 5, I thought, okay, that makes sense. But a 6, I don't know. They get VCU. I mean, not only do they get a 6 seed, they get what could be their kryptonite. Athletic team, the athletic defensive-minded team that gets after you. That could be BYU's kryptonite. We just saw what happened to them against Houston, an athletic defensive-minded team. Now, VCU is not Houston, so I don't want to try to make that comparison. I'm not saying VCU is even in the same league as Houston, but I know they're an athletic team, a long athletic team that is defensive-minded. So it'll be tough for BYU to get out of this game. What they got to do, to me, go inside and just pound them. Just pound them. Don't mess around like you did last year. And when the game got physical, BYU didn't show up. This game is going to be physical. Let it get physical. Your physical basketball team, BYU, when you want to be, go beat them up. That's where your advantage is going to be. Go beat them up. But if you don't and you play passive, you're going to have problems with VCU. I'm telling you right now, you're going to have problems. So I want you to win the game. I think you will win the game. But you can't be passive because they're going to get right in your face and challenge you. Well, accept the challenge and punch back. That's all you got to do. Accept the challenge and punch back. And then West Virginia. Now, look, I'd been telling you guys for weeks now, West Virginia was playing themselves out of the tournament. And I get it. Tucker DeVries got hurt and never came back. I totally understand that. So they weren't as good, the second half of the season as they were at the beginning. Totally understandable. But you can't lose some of the games that they lost. And I told you guys last week when they lost to Colorado in the Big 12 tournament, I said, yeah, I think you should be in, but it's going to be a tough one on Selection Sunday. And sure enough, that was it. That was the loss. If you win that game, you're in. Instead, you lose it, and you're out. You have nobody to blame but yourself. Nobody to blame but yourself. However, West Virginia got robbed. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. West Virginia got robbed. They should 1,000,000% be in the tournament over North Carolina. They rewarded North Carolina because North Carolina played a tough non-conference schedule, which West Virginia did too. But North Carolina beat nobody. See, the criteria for the big dance, for the NCAA tournament has always been who did you play and who did you beat. It's always been that. I mean, they the last 10 games, who did you play, who did you beat, where did you play? That's been kind of the criteria for I don't know, for decades. That's why we liked March Madness so much, because it was pretty transparent. It's like, hey, man, if you don't play anybody, we're not going to reward you. Oh, by the way, if you don't beat anybody, we're not going to reward you. That changed this year. It changed because North Carolina had 13 quad 1 games this year. They went 1-12. 1-12. So they played some decent teams, but they didn't beat any of them. West Virginia, on the other hand, had 6 quad 1 wins. 6. Now, if you want to say that West Virginia went 4-3 in quad 2 games, so you got to look at that, and North Carolina didn't lose any quad 2 games. Okay. But North Carolina also lost a quad 3 game. That happened. Yeah, a quad 3 game, which is the bottom half or the bottom quarter of the NCAA basketball teams. They lost to one of those teams. West Virginia didn't. So West Virginia not only – now, part of it is because West Virginia played in a better conference in the ACC. The ACC was terrible. And the reason that I know that – first of all, let me go on my quick rant about my Louisville Cardinals real quick. How do you beat a team twice? You play them twice. You beat them twice. You finish higher than them in the league. Their record is 1 game off. Like, Louisville had a 1 game worse overall record than Clemson, but that's because they played 1 more game because they advanced to the ACC final. Yet Louisville gets an 8 seed and Clemson gets a 5 seed. Can anybody explain that to me? You're in the same conference. They finish higher than you. They beat you the only 2 times that you played. They beat you twice, but somehow they're a 5 and Louisville's an 8. I could go on and on all day. I apologize. But that's what I'm talking about. None of this makes sense to me. I mean, they should just come out and say, oh, and Bubba Cunningham, of course, is the chair of the NCAA committee. And, oh, well, he was out of the room when we were discussing North Carolina. Man, get out of here. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Maybe he was out of the room as he's walking out. Hey, man. Hey, don't forget about me. Hey, you remember what that deal that I cut you guys? Remember that, okay? I know I'm walking out of here, but remember that. Remember that. Come on. Come on. Hell, you look at an Indiana, which I have no love lost for Indiana. Indiana had the only games that they lost were quad one games. They lost 13 games this year. They were all quad one. But they also won, I want to say, 4 of them. They were 4-13. So they didn't have any bad losses this year. They didn't make it over North Carolina. Huh? I mean, it is up and down the list. I mean, hell, you could even say Cincinnati had more quad one wins. They had 3 than North Carolina. Villanova had more than North Carolina. Santa Clara had more than North Carolina. Penn State, Dayton, all these teams had more than North Carolina. UCF had more than North Carolina. Arizona State, Kansas State, all these teams had more quad one wins than North Carolina. You're never going to convince me that they should have been in this tournament. It is an absolute travesty that West Virginia, who was absolutely the last team left out, they were the first team left out over North Carolina. Why did you do that? We all know why. Hey, it's blue blood. We want them in the tournament. And here's the thing. You look at North Carolina's draw, North Carolina could be in the round of 32. They absolutely win the first game. And then that first round, they got to play in. They can win that. Then the first round game, they can win that. I guess they called the second round, but I'll never do that. The play-in is the play-in, and the first round is the first round. That's just me. I'm never changing. And then they'll say, see, we were justified. No, you weren't justified. Now, granted, I'm belly aching after the fact. It's not going to change. But if there was no justification, like even when they came out to explain it, they couldn't. All they kept saying, well, we looked at the metrics. What metric? What metric? The most important metric that we've always been told is who did you play and who did you beat? That was always the top tier on how teams got slotted in this tournament and how you made it. Who did you play and who did you beat? So they rewarded North Carolina for playing a very tough non-conference schedule. They didn't beat any of those teams, but they played them. So great. 1 quad 1 win. 1. That was good enough. Not to mention 1 quad 1 win in a bad conference. The ACC wasn't good this year. They had Duke, Louisville, Clemson. That's it. Nobody else was any good. And I mean, nobody else was any good in that conference, including North Carolina. Again, the disrespect of the Big 12 is starting to seep into basketball. I didn't think that would happen, but it did. And it just flat out pisses me off. Now, granted, West Virginia did this to themselves. You can't lose to Colorado at the end of the year like you did. You just can't. The games that you kept losing, I kept saying, guys, you got to win. You got to win these games. Now, it's easy for me to say that. I mean, on the outside looking in, but I was just saying, look, you're playing yourself out of the tournament. You all heard me say that for weeks. West Virginia's losing it. They're playing themselves out of this thing. So they have nobody to blame but themselves. If they win 2 more games, heck, I think 1 more game, this isn't a conversation. But when you lose to Colorado at the end of the year, that's the last thing that the committee sees. Oh, well, we saw North Carolina battle Duke to the end, so we'll give it the nod to them. We think they're better. Now, they haven't proven that they're better, but because of what we saw the very last game of the year that they played and what West Virginia played, we like North Carolina, regardless of resume. It doesn't matter. We'll take this blue blood over West Virginia. And not to say that West Virginia's history is just some garbage basketball history, because it's not. But it is in North Carolina. They got the nod. That's why they got the nod. It's just mind-boggling, people. It's mind-boggling. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Let me know what you think in the comments. I don't necessarily like all the draws for the Big 12, but we're going to break all that down tomorrow on what we see and how far we think that Big 12 teams can go. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for taking the time, as always. Remember, like, follow, subscribe, continue to get in that comments section, and always hit the notification bell so you know when Big 12 Insiders content comes out. Remember, I'm out on Thursday and Friday. It'll be Fitz. I'll be giving you live updates from Vegas, though, on Big 12 games. I appreciate you guys. Talk to you soon.
Thank you for watching the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. This has been a Spirit Street production.